What do you hear?
My wife is banging on something in the kitchen. All I hear is bang, 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 bang. Can you hear that?
Oh,
No? Okay. Okay, Chris. It's sadly we are getting to the end of the show, so let's dive in to our final section. Now, what we're doing for this, we're actually going to be doing kind of a Q&A of sorts where you guys can ask us questions. Just go onto our Twitter at the Xbox Dive and just ask us questions. We will answer them on the show. However, since this is our first show, the question this week is just kind of, what is your gaming background? We're just going to tell you guys a little bit about ourselves, what got us into gaming, and kind of where we are now. So, Chris, we'll go ahead and start off with you, man. Let our listeners know, where did you come from? What is Chris White? What is Neo Lego? Our listeners and viewers are dying to know.
Sure. So just kind of a quick bio of myself. So I live in Dallas, Texas.
And with that, I will move on to my...
I was actually born in Florida, born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, moved out to Texas for school, and now work and live out here. I'm married. I have 4 kids. I said 4 kids. That sounds like a lot of kids. That is a lot of kids. And they're all awesome. But yeah, so video games have kind of been for really from the beginning just kind of my outlet. And so I had an NES as early as I can remember, having an NES in my house. Game Boy was really the thing that really kind of converted me. I got my Game Boy for Christmas in 1990, and I got Tetris on it and Super Mario Land, and it just because when you're a kid, especially back in the late 80s, early 90s, we were middle to low class in general, so we had one TV in the house. So if mom was watching something or something was going on, like, you didn't get to play, Nintendo, because that was the only TV we had. But when you had a Game Boy, it was like I am my own TV, and it was just the coolest thing to be able to play. So really kind of just raised a Nintendo kid, and still to this day just love Nintendo. But that's kind of where I got my I guess my roots there. I jumped to Genesis when we jumped to the 16-bit era because, it was the cool thing to do, right? All the cool kids had Genesis. I corrected that mistake a couple years after the consoles launched and finally got an SNES because that was stupid. So I had a Genesis and an SNES. Had a 64. I did have a PlayStation 1 for a very short time. I am not a PlayStation fan at all, and I don't buy PlayStation products, and we can talk about that later if we need to, or you can hit me up on Twitter at NeoLego and ask me why, and I'll be
hashtag Chris is not a fan.
That's right. I did get a 1999. I got a Sega Dreamcast, which I loved.
So good.
So good. And then moved into college, started college in 2000. So I started college with my Dreamcast and then my 64. That quickly escalated the next year into Xbox Original and GameCube, which I love to death. And 360. I've owned a Wii and a Wii U. I've had every Nintendo handheld, so the DS Original, DS Lite, DSi. I've had the original 3DS, the 3DS XL, and so now I play primarily on the Xbox One, but I do have a Wii U, which is right here. And so I play a lot on that as well, and I play a lot on my 3DS. So that's kind of just background in general. We talked about games a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's come back. James, why don't you kind of give us a rundown? So
okay.
I'm not talking the whole entire
Sure. Well, that's mostly the case most of the time. So we'll give you a break. We'll give you a little break here. And actually, my video game story is somewhat similar to yours as far as systems go. I started with the NES.
Where are you from, James?
Oh, right. I'll start from there. I'm from a small town in Ohio, so there's like nothing around here. Just my wife and I. No kids yet, but just my wife and I and our dog and cat. So those are our children right now. Yeah, I mean, I started with the NES just like Chris did. Been in gaming for a long time. Actually, for me, the whole reason I got into gaming in the first place, when I was born like 2.5 months early, and back in the '80s, and with that, the doctor said I had to work on my hand-eye coordination, because being born early, I was born 2 pounds, medical complications, all that stuff, and so my uncle, he's like, well, he needs to work on his hand-eye coordination. Went out and bought me an NES, and so doctor's orders, man, you gotta do what they say, right? So little did they know I'd be hooked from the moment I got that. So, playing Mario and Duck Hunt and all that stuff and enjoying my NES. After that, like you, Chris, I got a Sega Genesis. I was playing Sonic and all those great, Toe Jam and Earl and all those awesome Sega Genesis games. And then a little bit down the road, my parents got me an SNES. It was a few years into the life cycle. I think they got it at a garage sale, super cheap. So it came in. It wasn't an SNES box. It was in like a little shoe box or whatever. SNES, tons of games. 2 controllers. Came with Super Mario World. Came with Mario Kart. Came with The Tick, if you remember that on SNES.
Oh wow!
And so really enjoyed that. A lot of fun times there. After that, I think would probably be my, quote unquote, golden age of gaming, just because that was when I got my, it was the generation after that, because next generation was PlayStation N64. I got a PlayStation for Christmas. I think it was the year it came out, the year after, got that with Crash Bandicoot. And came with Battle Arena Toshinden was the pack-in game. So, really enjoyed my PlayStation. But all my friends had an N64. Had to play Mario 64. And so the N64 was the first time I saved up money forever. Mowing lawns, all that stuff. Got an N64. Had 1 controller. Got Cruis'n USA with it. I love my N64. Had a lot of great memories, but the generation after that is what I was referring to before, my golden age of gaming. That was when it was GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, because that's when I was in high school, and all my friends were coming over, and we just played GameCube nonstop. We were playing, Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and Mario Golf and like Mario Baseball. And we played all that stuff. There were so many awesome games. That's when the PS2 was really taking off. Now, I will say I never owned the original Xbox. I had a neighbor that did. So we did play some fun Xbox games, played the original Halo, but I never owned an original Xbox. I didn't get around to playing a lot of those Xbox games until the next generation when I got an Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 being backwards compatible, that's when I went back and started playing all the Halo games, which were fantastic. Now, I will say, I absolutely love Xbox, their ecosystem, their UI, love it all. But the Xbox 360 generation, I only made it about halfway through the generation with my Xbox 360. I switched to PlayStation 3 about midway through, which was, I know you're shaking your head, it was a mistake, but my thing red ringed, I think like 3 or 4 times. And I was just done with it. It red ringed, I sent it in. I red ringed, sent it in, got it back, red ringed again, sent it in, got it back. And and the funny thing is, with my 360, it was working pretty good. Until my roommate in college would use it, and he would leave it on all the time. He would leave it on all night. He would leave it on like I'd be gone for the weekend. He would just leave it on. And then one day I was playing Fight Night. What was that? Fight Night Round 4, whatever the 360 version of Fight Night was, which was awesome. It was so good. And it kept freezing. I'm like, what is going on? And that was my first red ring. After that, I never got a good Xbox 360 after that. I was so sad. And so I hopped onto the PlayStation 3 bandwagon for a little while, played a lot of that, because most of my friends have PlayStation. Around here, and as it is mostly on the internet, most people are...
You need better friends.
are mostly PlayStation fans. But thankfully, my brother-in-law, well, he's my brother-in-law now, he's a big Xbox guy, so he always has 360. So I played Alan Wake and Gears of War, original Mass Effect, played it from borrowing his 360. So even though I didn't have one, I still got to play a lot of the games. But now I'm back in the Xbox family, and all I have is Xbox. I've got an Xbox One and a Wii U right now. I'm not just count handhelds, and I've got my 3DS and that kind of stuff. But as far as consoles go, I absolutely love my Xbox One. It is awesome. It's so good. UI and everything for that, probably one of my favorite systems of all time. It's so good. It is so good. And that's the whole reason we made this show, because as I mentioned, Chris and I, we are big Xbox fans. We love Xbox. And there's so many PlayStation shows, Nintendo shows out there. We're like, we want to try to fill a gap. I mean, we feel like there's a gap out there for Xbox shows. So we're hoping we're bringing you some Xbox goodness straight into your ears, straight into your face. I mean, as long as the picture over here doesn't make you sick to your stomach, you should be good to go, I think.
We will be signing autographs soon.
Just send us some money and a piece of paper. We'll sign it. We'll send it back. It'll be great.
So let me ask you this. We don't have to get into the greatest games of all time debate yet, but just for the folks watching, give us some idea. Give us a handful of games that are you would consider your favorite games of all time. Just not in any sort of order. Just
sure.
What do you
Man,
like?
that's really hard. If we're sticking with Xbox, which you should for the show, right? I'm gonna say.
Wait, no, not necessarily. This is about us.
True.
But that's fine.
Very true.
That's fine.
Okay. Well, let me put it this way. My favorite game of all time is Super Mario World 2: Yoshi's Island. I played that 100% of that game so many times. I absolutely love that game.
Nice.
But also up there, I'm gonna put Mass Effect 2. That is my favorite Mass Effect. Absolutely love that game. I played it so many. I played that trilogy probably 3 times, and that's a lot of game time if you play all 3 games.
Yes.
But it's so good. I can't wait for Andromeda. It's gonna be awesome. Let me think what else. And, Gears of War series. I love Gears 3. So good. It perfected the combat, and it made the story in that game is really good. I think that's by far the best Gears game. Gears 3 is my favorite. Let's see here. Alan Wake. I really loved Alan Wake. Alan Wake is great. Although Quantum Break, I was super hyped for it. I have it on my shelf. I've played about halfway through and I haven't finished it. I don't know what it is with Quantum Break. It just didn't hook me like Alan Wake did.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else, man. I mean, there's so many good games out there, and just being put on the spot, those were the first games that popped into my head. What about you, man? What do you say top 3 or 5 games you can think of?
So I love, so again, now this is just encompassing everything, but I love The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Oh, yes. Oh, man, so good.
By far my favorite Zelda game.
Now, real quick to interject.
I love Zelda.
In my opinion, I think Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game. People think I'm crazy, but that's just me.
Yeah, but you also own a PlayStation 2, so.
Not anymore. Used to.
That's true. So I love Wind Waker. I love the original Mario. I love Super Metroid. These are games kind of growing up that I just was in love with. Mario 64, obviously. Mm-hmm. In Ocarina of Time and even Twilight. I love pretty much all of the Zelda games. Mm-hmm. On the Xbox front itself, I think I'd have to say Halo is the game that really kind of hooked me, and so Halo has a special place just kind of in my in my gaming history, just because I bought an Xbox to play Halo with a friend, and that kind of got me started on really liking Xbox. Mm-hmm. But most of my favorite games are probably from the 360 era, and Red Dead Redemption is probably my favorite game on 360.
I actually just rebought Red Dead Redemption, so I can play it backwards compatible.
Yes, it's good. It's good. And what's funny is I don't really like. I'm not a big fan of super mature games. Mm-hmm. Typically, and I'm also not a fan of open world games, and Red Dead is both of those things, and I absolutely love it. Mass Effect 2, one of my favorite games of all time. Mm-hmm. Just I liked Mass Effect 1 okay. It was a little slow for me. The combat was definitely not engaging to me. I know that it has a big following. It was much more rooted kind of in that RPG kind of roots, but Mass Effect 2 was the one that I was like, that this game is really
so good. And honestly, Mass Effect 3 improves on a lot. It's just the ending kind of tarnished it for people.
Sure. I like Mass Effect. I'm not a hater of Mass Effect 3. Just Mass Effect 2 was the one that just resonated with me from start to finish. That game just had me encapsulated. I loved that game. So and I like the Telltale stuff, man. Yes. I like Wolf Among Us. Wolf Among Us is probably my favorite of the Telltale series. But Walking Dead season 1 is good. Tales from the Borderland is good.
Now, are you looking forward to season 3 that's supposed to come out this year of Walking Dead? Like, I agree. I absolutely loved season 1. Season 2 was okay. I liked 1 better. And dude,
Yeah.
Tales of the Borderlands is also, if you're a fan of
So
Borderlands,
good.
Tales of the Borderlands,
So good.
fantastic.
So good.
Now, quick
Yeah,
question.
I would almost just wish that they would just move to other, like there's
Sure.
other good stuff that you can do super mature,
Mhm.
like Walking Dead, and just kind of move on.
Sure.
Kind of
Well-
what I would like.
Let me ask you a quick question then, just kind of to cap off this. If you could choose like 2 or 3 genres like that says these are my type of games, what would you say? Or your like 2 or 3 favorite genres of game?
Sure. So my favorite genre is narrative driven.
Walking simulators.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I
I don't mean
can't
that in a
really
negative
argue
way.
with
I don't mean that in a
that.
negative way.
No. I know. I can't really argue with that. Like I love Dear Esther, which I reviewed not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I love Firewatch, Gone Home, but it's not just like So when you say walking simulators, like another game that I loved this year was Oxenfree.
Oh, dude, Oxenfree was awesome. It was so
It's
good.
2D. It's 2D side
Mhm.
scroll. And so it's not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily call it a walking simulator, because to me, when I think walking simulator, I think first person game.
Right. But with
So-
Oxenfree, I think what you're going for is like it's story driven and there isn't really combat, or if there is, there's not
Sure.
much of it. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, it's more like puzzle based stuff.
Mhm.
You know, I reviewed another game in June called In Between, which was about a man who was diagnosed with leukemia and dying,
Mhm.
and he was dealing with each level. So there's 7 levels or 7 worlds, if you will, and each one deal with a different of the stages of grief.
Mhm.
And so it's a puzzle game where you're basically like manipulating gravity to get through the level. So it's 2D, puzzle, but it's story driven. It's narrative driven. That's the kind of stuff that I love.
Sure.
If there is a good story, or even Thomas is Alone is another great example. It's a narrative driven experience about blocks,
Mhm.
of
Right,
different
right.
sizes. So like that's the kind of stuff that I love. Tactics
is Alone
games
is
I
awesome.
love. We
Yep.
talked about tactics
Mhm.
game a little bit earlier. Fire Emblem Advance Wars, some of my favorite games of all time. So I love tactics. And then I guess if I had to pick a third, it would be like action adventure, like Zelda type games.
Sure. Okay.
I like not necessarily having to be dungeon, but I like kind of the run around hack and slash. Not so much giant open world where there's a ton of stuff to do, but just like the more Tomb Raider, a little more linear, but really kind of fun driven adventure experience.
Yeah, and I kind of fall into a lot of the same categories. Just from being raised on NES up, my real sweet spot is platformers, 3D and 2D. Absolutely love them. I'm super hyped for Yooka-Laylee. Any of those kind of games. Those collectathon platformers, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, I didn't even mention those because I was just thinking more Xbox. But I absolutely love Banjo-Kazooie. Absolutely love Mario 64. Those games. Now, Donkey Kong 64 took it a little too far. But yeah, absolutely. That is my sweet spot right there. Also, I would agree with you, Chris. I think the strong narrative, like walking simulator type games, like Oxenfree, those kind of games where they just kind of tell a story.
Yep.
So good. It's absolutely awesome. And in my favorite games, I mentioned a lot of the third-person shooter action games. Really enjoy those. But one, just because we hadn't mentioned it yet, I just want to throw it out there. Horror games. I do really enjoy some strong horror games. You're not a fan, right? Because for me, I used to enjoy playing shooters, but now I actually really enjoy like the first-person horror games, things like that. Like Slender, like Alien Isolation. Like it has to do something special for a shooter to really pull me in. I haven't played Call of Duty in a long time. I haven't played Battlefield in a long time. Shooters have to do something special. But that's just me. So I mean, those are really my real strong genres. So I mean, we do like some of the similar stuff, but when it comes down to the nitty gritty games, we are kind of different. He can stay over there on his side,
which is good.
Awesome. Well, and also you guys, thank you for checking out this first week or this first episode we're doing here, putting things together for you. Make sure to check us out on Facebook. As you can see up there, we got Xbox Dive on Facebook. We are on Twitter, and we are also on Instagram. Check us out on all those places up at the top. Pretty much look at Twitter at the Xbox Dive. Instagram, it's XB Dive. So, find us there. Chris is going to be putting up all sorts of stuff. You can also find me on Twitter, on Xbox, Twitch, pretty much everywhere. Jamester0722. And Chris, where can people find you, sir?
You can find me everywhere at NeoLego. So
awesome.
Short and sweet.
Awesome. And as Chris mentioned before, you can also find us. We do a lot of freelance writing. You can find us on a couple of different sites. On theworkprint.com, we actually do a lot of TV and movie reviews over there. We do some game stuff as well. And then on Xbox Enthusiast, we do reviews for them as well. So make sure to check that out. But I mean, with that, guys, we hope you really enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to subscribe down below. We absolutely love it. If you're listening on, one of the podcast providers where you get it, subscribe on there as well. We would absolutely appreciate it. Also, if you have any feedback, we absolutely want to hear it. We're always trying to make the show better. As Chris mentioned earlier, if you want to ask us questions for the Q&A section at the end, make sure to tweet at us at the Xbox Dive. Chris, anything else to add as we wrap up the show? Put a little bow on it?
No, guys. We're really excited about this. Jamie and I both are really passionate about Xbox, and we really want to have a voice out there. And so we hope that you guys will come with us. If you have, friends that like Xbox, tell them about the show.
Mm-hmm.
Have them come and take a look at it. If you guys like it, and like Jamie said, give us some feedback. We're definitely open to changing stuff around or
Mm-hmm.
adding stuff that you guys want to see. But we want to have a positive voice. There's so much negativity on the internet. We want to have a positive voice for what the Xbox is doing and for its fans. So we hope you guys enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
and you stick around and and kind of follow us through this journey.
Awesome. And with that, guys, we're out.
Bye.
Hey guys, we hope you really enjoyed this contest from Xbox Dive. If you like what you saw, make sure to comment and subscribe down below. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Till next time, guys, we're out.